Welcome to Melt. I'm Suresh Venkat. Last week, media and communications agency Madison World unveiled the annual Pitch Madison Advertising Report for the year 2023. Advertising expenditure, or AdEx, is expected to grow by 16% in 2023 and cross the landmark 1 lakh crore rupees to settle at 1,04,230 crores. Furthermore, in 2022, digital grew by 35% to become the single largest advertising medium. Digital now has a 38% share in AdEx compared to TV's 34%. Print continues to remain steady in India with a share of 21%, while out-of-home and cinema captured 4% and 0.6% share respectively. To deep dive into the numbers, we are in conversation today with Sam Balsara, Chairman and Managing Director at Madison World. So let's get ready to melt with Sam Balsara. Sam, welcome to Melt.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, and hello everyone.
Now, your report says that the Indian AdEx is the one bright spot in a relatively dull and uncertain global environment. Can you help those watching this show understand the basis for this optimism?
Well, indeed it is. And if, India itself is the bright spot, the Indian economy is the bright spot in a dull and gloomy world, indeed it is. I mean, which other markets AdEx can boast of having grown by 21% in a year that started off with COVID phase 3 and then the war, which has still continued?
Yes, that's right. Now, how do you view the current economic climate? The ongoing talks of recession, layoffs, course correction. Do you foresee any or all of these in your projections?
Well, the way we see it is 2022 itself was a year of many challenges. We had COVID, then we had the war, and in spite of all this, our AdEx grew 1% higher than our last year's estimate of 20%. From an India perspective, the major thing that had hit many advertisers is a big inflation in their raw material prices. Most advertisers seem to say now that inflation is cooling down. Yes, there is still the problem of the currency exchange rate, which seems to be working against India. But then I think that's a fact of life. We have to live with it. And to some extent, we have factored that in our 16% forecast.
The big headline from your report is that in 2022, digital finally overtook TV in terms of ad expenditure. Now, what would you attribute to the rise of digital, especially given India's wide and varied demographics and access to the internet?
There are several factors. I mean, fundamental being that, the digital penetration itself has increased dramatically, thanks to increasing number of smartphones available at lower prices, thanks to, penetration of mobiles increasing, thanks to low connectivity fees, thanks now to the growth of connected TV because of number of cord cutters that are increasing. All these are or have contributed to the phenomenal rise of digital. And this is something we had expected last year and had reported it in our report, because already last year the gap in share between digital and TV was very minimal, and we had anticipated that this year, that is in 22, it would cross television, and it has.
Now, considering the domination of digital, are there any gaps in the medium that need to be addressed immediately at an industry level to keep this sort of growth going?
I think I'm glad you asked me this question. As I see it, I think yes, indeed, there are many gaps. We don't have a common currency, which I think is fundamentally required. Uh, Bach is again making, I believe, a gallant attempt at doing this, and I hope this time, unlike last time, they succeed. The key to brand building is obviously the creative content, and I think everything possible must be done to make sure that the viewer sees the content in its entirety. I mean, that is why the brand has spent so much time and effort creating that content. But, I find that, the digital channels, each one seems to follow their own rule as to what constitutes a view, and some of these are as low as 2 seconds and 3 seconds, which is a little discomforting for the discerning advertiser.
So, Sam, panelists at the launch event for the report said that there is a need to protect linear TV and that the operating word between TV and digital should be and not or. Do you agree? Is it a both and world, digital and TV, or has digital killed the TV star?
As a media agency, I must say our view is to be totally objective and not take sides and do what is best for the brand. It is true that, different brands have different needs, and depending on how that medium meets that need, we recommend that medium. Having said that, I think by and large, everybody is agreed, and most advertisers agree that television is very good at brand building, and few other medium can match its brand building power. But I agree with you that in the years to come in India, it's going to be digital and television that are going to define the industry.
Right. Shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about the upcoming IPL, which this time will bring an intense debate on TV versus digital. What are the pros and cons of both TV and digital when it comes to a property like the IPL?
Yes, I think there are, of course, I think everybody knows the advantages of television, and most of the money, advertising money, has also been spent on television. But this time we have an aggressive player who has bid a huge amount for the digital rights and has taken the unprecedented step of making this very much desired content available completely free of cost. So, to some extent, it does sort of queer the pitch for television. But I would say television has its own strengths. Digital, of course, has some advantages over television for certain brands, especially those with lower outlays and more specific, needs in terms of geographical coverage and demographic coverage, and with lower outlays, digital may provide a good option to also participate in this India's mega sporting activity, which is going to last for over 2 months.
Sam, another thing that the report says that print in India continues to defy global AdEx trends. Print is actually growing in India. What drives this growth?
So, print is an amazing story in India as I see it. Globally, print AdEx has a 4% share. In India, it has a 22% share. In China, I was surprised to read that print has 0% share. But we feel that print is going to continue to grow year on year for some years to come. Of course, its rate of growth may be muted, because of which its share will have to come down. But print today offers unique benefits, especially at the time when they have to launch a new product, a new variant, or have some important announcement to make on a new feature, a new variant, some price off, or some promotion, or some festival week, at which time, print offers a terrific opportunity. And therefore, I feel even large advertisers are going to continue to use print. Of course, print also continues to be the first port of call for smaller regional and local advertisers. Because of this, I think almost 40 to 50% of print advertising comes from regional and local advertisers.
Now, as a media agency, if you will, how do you recommend print to your clients without any industry-wide measurement or metrics that are in place?
Yeah, as a media agency, I think we were concerned that, even post-COVID, neither IRS or ABC started becoming available. ABC figures did come, but that too in a limited way. Having said that, I must say, seeing what has happened in 2022, I think we have to recognize that advertisers are more concerned with a response to their advertising and equally concerned with the rate they have to pay for the ad than these esoteric figures, as we have seen this year. And I think the print industry did a good job of using pricing as a mechanism to at least recover in volume terms its pre-COVID volume levels.
Let's talk about cinema. Do you expect cinema to bounce back as an advertising medium this year? If yes, why yes? And if no, why not?
Yes, we do expect it to substantially recover. Unfortunately, we do not expect it to recover to its pre-COVID level. I think that is probably still another 1 year away. And we hope that with the success that Pathan has seen and many more such successes, our figures will come true.
Sam, last year you told us to expect AdEx to grow at a CAGR of about 12 to 15% for the next 5 years. Do you still hold that view? And if so, why?
We think so because it's to do with one macroeconomic fact that India is a growing economy, and currently our AdEx to GDP ratio continues to be very small at about 0.35%, whereas at the global level and in many countries it's as high as 0.8 to 1%, and in some smaller countries it crosses 1%. So, for these two reasons, we are confident that Indian AdEx is going to move ahead at a very fast pace compared to the developed economies. For perspective, compared to our 21% growth in India, the top 11 countries, including India, grew only by 1% in 22.
The keynote speaker at the unveiling event advised leaders to experiment, innovate, and not be afraid of failure. What are some of the other media-specific strategies that you wish CMOs kept in mind for this year?
The first was to use advertising budgets to build brands in the long term or medium term, and not use advertising budgets to buy sales in the short term. It's very tempting, I know, for some newer advertisers to divert very large sums of money from their advertising budgets to newer methods like search or e-commerce and things like that. But you must know that the only long-term, sustainable, cost-effective way to build a business, a consumer business that can deliver growing profits year and year, is if you build a brand in your prospective consumer's mind. And mass advertising can help you do that in a very cost-effective way. My second piece of advice that I ended with is that in the current scenario, we need to augment our linear TV plans with use of digital, because we have seen that when you use only linear TV, 1/3 of your audience, which could be defined as light viewers, are underserved by a only TV plan, and another 1/3 who could be considered heavy viewers are actually overserved. So, in fact, your TV media plan could be created to meet the middle segment, and the lower segment, the light viewers, could be augmented with a digital plan. My third piece of advice was actually to look out for opportunities that mediums like outdoor, cinema, and radio present from time to time under certain situations for certain brands with lower budgets, to do an impactful campaign in spite of low outlays. So don't write them off completely or take a policy decision that you will never use such media. My fourth piece of advice was not to underplay the important role of creative in brand building. A lot of new advertisers don't pay enough attention to brand strategy, creative strategy, and the like, and get carried away sometimes by just the idea or the gizmos suggested to be used in the execution. such creative executions, I believe, will last for very short period, and you'll soon have to create a new commercial. And that way, you won't build a lasting brand.
All right. Final question, Sam. Sir Martin Sorrell recently said that ChatGPT could eventually replace media planning and buying. Do you agree with Sir Martin?
So, Martin Sorrell is a good friend of mine, and I have the highest regard for him. And yes, it is true that from time to time, I think we have seen different concepts, different tools, different mediums emerge. And I think the advertising and communications industry has always adapted. To the best of my knowledge, I think we are, as agencies, going to continue to provide a useful service to the advertising community. And as long as I think we do that, using the best of current tools available, I think we'll continue to be in business. But of course, you must know that in the long term, we all are dead.
Strong words there, Sam. On that note, thank you for speaking to us at Melt. That's a wrap on this episode. You can follow Melt on social media. The handle is Ready to Melt, or simply log on to readytomelt.com. If you'd like to follow me, I'm @SuVenk on Twitter. Till next week, goodbye and thanks for watching.